Hello, everyone around the world. I'm Jeff Keighley, and welcome to Gamescom Opening Night Live, a preview of this holiday's biggest games and a sneak preview of what lies beyond. Over the next 2 hours, we're going to announce new games, show you the first full gameplay demo of Call of Duty Vanguard alongside star Laura Bailey, get the first new look in a year at LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, get an update on Death Stranding Director's Cut for PlayStation 5, and debut the story trailer for Far Cry 6. Plus, we're going to find out who's in that Super Monkey Ball and so much more we can't tell you about just yet.
Whoa, look at that. Welcome to the double-digit episode 10 of PlayStation Pals. I'm your host, Nick, and I am joined by the Hugo to my Amicia, John.
Hey, Nick, how's it going, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing well. Happy to be here.
I don't know if you saw over the weekend, John, what the top subreddit in the PS5 Reddit thread was. Did you see it?
I'm going to guess it's Stray.
No, it's about this little indie platformer called Astrobot's Playroom. I don't know if you've heard of it, but going by this thread, you should play it.
Well, I was actually wanted to make one of my topics today about how everybody needs to play this game and how it's a hidden gem that just begs to be played and does a really good job showcasing the controller too, which is pretty cool. So yeah, I mean that tracks for me.
Yeah, exactly. It's the first thing you should do. Open your PS5 and put this game on. Nobody knows about this, but
no.
Every few weeks you got to remind people, and everyone will upvote you. You'll get, you're guaranteed 4K upvotes if you mention this every few weeks. So
I feel like since the release of that demo, I feel like the next full-fledged Astrobot game is going to just take over. It's going to blow up, I think, bigger than anybody could possibly imagine, and rightfully so, because jokes aside, that game is great, but we don't need to be told for the 55th time to play it. So, but I think the next full-fledged game is going to be huge. Just calling it now.
Yeah, probably. I think they've been teasing that it's going to be very big. So, Team Asobi has been teasing. So, looking forward to it. Looking forward to the reset the counter on another Astrobot game for everyone to tell me to play because I wasn't aware of it. So, looking forward to that. All right, well, here we go. If you're just joining us, this is the format of the show. John and I bring 3 things to talk about. It can be a news story, it can be an event, it can be a video game we're playing, it can be an event, it can be an email to PlayStationPalsPod@gmail.com. And, sometimes we talk about events here because it's August, that boring month that John does not
worst
like.
Month of the year.
Yep, worst month of the year, but the end of this month and leading into early September, it's event season. So we got quite a few events to talk about. Are you excited, John? Are you excited to see some new games?
Okay, hold on. I just got to make sure I'm not negative all the time. All right. Yeah, I'm excited. No, I think it's a little bit of yes and no, as you guys will find out once we talk about some of these events coming up.
Yeah, I don't believe you. That sounded fake. Your excitement level.
I'm trying, Nick. All right. I'm trying.
All right. So we're going to cover some past and future events that are coming up and then speculate on whether Sony's going to have an event. But to kick things off, the big event is Opening Night Live. This is one of the big 3 of Jeff Keighley sponsored events, including Summer Kickoff Fest, the Game Awards, and this Gamescom Opening Night Live. And this is coming this August 23rd at 2 p.m. Eastern. Keighley's been out there hyping it. So we're going to break this up into 2 parts. We're going to talk about what Keighley has hyped up so far and confirmed what's going to be there. And then the second half will be what we want to see at this show. So through his Twitter account, this is what he has confirmed so far. Dying Light 2 Bloody Ties. This is DLC for Dying Light 2. The Callisto Protocol. Hogwarts Legacy. High on Life. Sonic Frontiers. Return to Monkey Island. Goat Simulator 3. The Expanse. The Outlast Trials. And Gotham Knights. So starting things off, John, how do you feel about what we know is going to be there this upcoming Tuesday?
Pretty let down, honestly. I mean, kind of for all these conferences and showcases, the things that really get me excited and the reason that I like to tune into all of these events is because I want to see things that I don't really know about, or things that have been kind of rumored, and different I don't want to see a game that I've seen before and just be like, here's a new look at this, and here's one generic weird kind of multiplayer whatever gameplay blah blah for that game. I want to be surprised, and it just seems like we're getting to a level of dilution with all of these showcases that just facilitate filler and just cause these showcases to be, to just have this fill up a 5-minute spot because we need it to be an hour and a half because, we have to demand that level of attention from our audience, as opposed to the good old days where, you might get a showcase and 12 of the 15 announcements are awesome and you get a couple that you don't care about. It seems like we're getting like maybe a couple we do care about and then 12 to 15 that are just snooze fest. So, out of everything he's announced so far, it's all that kind of stuff. The stuff we know about. We know about Callisto. We know about Hogwarts. We know about a lot of this stuff. And so while it's cool to see more of those, there's also personally not a lot of games out that are coming out that I'm genuinely excited to see. Callisto is one of them. I do want to see more of it, but I'm also kind of getting to the point in my life where I'm settled in my tastes. I know what I'm looking for, and so a lot of these games that I do want to see more of, or that I know I'm going to play, I don't want to see more of it. So, it's kind of a lot of feelings kind of coming all at once. But overall, I just hope that Keighley brings a couple things that we don't know about.
Sure, and I don't think he would ever tease like something we didn't know, like I'm going to be announcing the next game in this franchise or Elden Ring DLC. He's going to wait for that to be in the show itself. I don't think he's going to hype it up beforehand. But also to your point, the Callisto Protocol, High on Life, Goat Simulator, The Expanse, these have all been at the last showcase he did himself. Like all these games were featured there. So it's just like another look at games that we've already gotten a look at the last big event. Yeah, I feel you on that. That's not exciting to me either. That being said, I do want to see more of these games. A lot of these games are, check a box for me. Like as you mentioned, the Callisto Protocol and Hogwarts Legacy, and Gotham Knights. That game's probably not good, but I'll keep taking a look at it. But as we watch this on Tuesday, you're right. Most of these games, we're just gonna be like, okay.
Right, and that's what I want, man. Is like I don't want to go through these showcases like I feel like they've been for a little bit now, where it's you kind of leave it and you're almost searching in your brain for what is the thing that kind of got me out of my seat. And I guess his Summer Games Fest, right? His big stinger was The Last of Us Part 1, which got leaked a little bit ahead of time. So sure, it would have been cool, but even that, it's just like if that's the level, like the top tier announcement that we get for these events now, it's just as somebody who follows the industry as closely as you and I do, it leaves a little bit to be desired, and I hope that catches on in the industry as a general feeling from people, because I think we just need to see a little bit less of these things, which again we'll talk about a little bit more.
There's a lot of events coming up, it's again, I'm sure if you're really high on one of these games, you're probably pretty excited, but overall it's not a single game that we haven't seen in some form or another earlier a few months ago. So,
and I do just want to say this is just the games that Keighley has tweeted out already. I'm not trying to make a commentary about the show in general. We might come away from it next week and think it was awesome, and maybe he is just kind of trickling some stuff out to just get you ready for it. So not saying that the show is going to be a complete shit show from front to back or anything close to that, but just from what we've seen so far, I have a feeling he's gonna show us a lot of what the filler is, and then we might get 1 to 2 things that are kind of cool. And if that's the case, that is what it is. You know, I don't have enough time in my life to play games as much as I want to anyway. So, you know, I don't really know what I'm complaining about. But, you know, it still could be a good show. I just want to, you know, make sure that I get that point across. This is just for the things that he's tweeted out so far.
Sure. And again, it only takes one, like last year with Elden Ring. So going on to the second part of this, what is that one thing, John? What do you want to see here, within reason, at this showcase? Which it takes place in Germany. It is usually European focused. So usually the games there are either, you know, developers from, you know, within Europe, or caters more to their taste over there, which is usually a lot of more real-time strategy games, simulations, and stuff like that. So,
sure.
But
so,
what do you want to see, John?
Skull and Bones, obviously. No, I'm just kidding. No. So I have kind of one answer. I'm going to kind of break up your question into 2 parts. So what I want to see versus what I think will be seen. So, you know, what I want to see, and this is kind of a weird one, but there's a game that released about a month or so ago on the Nintendo Switch and PC that kind of surprised everybody, and that game's called Neon White. And it's kind of a hard game to explain, just in like a 30-second elevator pitch, but it's basically a first-person shooter, level-based Japanese visual novel kind of thing, where you kind of go into these levels and you have it's like a 20 to 30 second thing where you have to kill all the enemies, but it looks very, very fast, where it has this weird card system that you can use that like operate as guns, but also you can use them for movement by discarding them. So I just encourage everybody to go check it out. It looks really weird. You know, it's gonna probably be for you or not for you, but it reviewed very well. It's sitting at a 90 on Metacritic, which, you know, I'm a sucker for reviews. You know, at least gets me to want to take a look at it. So I'm really hoping that game gets ported over to the PlayStation and Xbox ecosystems. I think it will one day. Typically, you know, when you have these major success stories on an individual console, especially if that console is Nintendo Switch, it's eventually going to make its way over to the PlayStation and Microsoft consoles, because, you know, obviously there's no hardware limitations or anything like that. It's just basically getting the code onto these systems and then just printing a little bit of money for you. So I'm hoping to see that, because that's kind of been one game this year that I've been wanting to check out, but just haven't been able to pull the trigger on the Switch. And so that's what I personally want to see. But what I think the big thing, if I were to guess, did you want to say something, Nick? Sorry.
No, I'm with you. I would be really excited to have that announcement. I do think it's probably too soon. That game is only 2 months old, and I imagine there is some weird console exclusive deal with Nintendo, like Hades. That we'll probably be seeing this game on PlayStation next year. And I think in the past, Nintendo typically operates with a 6-month exclusivity period. I believe that's what Hades was. It might be a year, so don't quote me on that. But my thought is if this game came out, I don't have the exact date. I think it was June. We could see a trailer that says, it comes out in December or early next year. I think you could maybe start seeing the groundwork for it. But if it is a year exclusivity, it might not be here. But we'll see. Needless to say, I think that game will eventually come to these consoles. So just want to play it on PlayStation if I can. And then what I think, if I were to put money on what I think the big game reveal, or the stinger, maybe the last game of Gamescom, I'm going to put money on Kojima's new game, which was rumored to be called Overdose. Not a lot is known about this game, but there have been some rumblings and confirmations that Kojima is working on this new project titled Overdose. I believe it was tied to being a Microsoft game at one point, but obviously there's not any confirmations on any of that kind of stuff. But we know that Jeff Keighley and Hideo Kojima are very, very close. So that in and of itself is a pretty decent reason to expect that he'll be there. And I believe he was even rumored to be at Summer Games Fest earlier this year and wasn't. So, if you kind of know how these rumors work in the industry, it's usually when there's smoke, there's fire. If you hear a rumor, it's probably at least being talked about. And so, it could have just been one of those things that it was heard by somebody. It wasn't quite ready for Summer Games Fest, so we might see it here at Gamescom. But that's
that's about all I can really predict, because I don't think you're going to see a lot of Sony or Nintendo at these things. And fucking who knows what else will be there. So that's kind of my thoughts.
Yeah, Hideo Kojima did show up at the Microsoft press conference this year, their Xbox showcase. But at the same time, Norman Reedus has been talking about Death Stranding 2. So it's it's so hard to pin down what Kojima's working on. And he could be working on multiple projects, that's for sure. I believe people have rumored as much as that his Xbox project is smaller and has to do with the cloud. So, a good bet on Kojima, because if definitely not here, he'll be at Game Awards, without a doubt. He'll have a game at Game Awards, like if he's not here. So it's either one or the other, 50-50. So, so what I want to see, I'm hoping, is CD Projekt Red in some kind of form. That's either announcing the rumored DLC for Cyberpunk 2077, announcing a release date for The Witcher 3 PS5 version, or even more pie in the sky is some kind of tease as to what the premise or the story is for the Witcher game, their next project that they've been teasing. Anything on that would, I'd pass out.
That would be awesome. I can't imagine they're gonna jump over the CD Projekt DLC and the Witcher next gen port to deliver that, but that would definitely be the announcement of the show if they show any type of details on that. But because they originally had the Witcher DLC planned for earlier this year, right? And it got pushed. Is that right?
The DLC.
I'm sorry. The Witcher next gen port.
Yeah, that's been rumored to be coming out earlier this year. So it would not be surprising if they announce a next gen port with maybe a few extra quests in there, because they've been supporting Witcher 3 for forever. So I wouldn't be surprised if that they were bundled together. But just seeing CD Projekt Red at all would be nice. The anime too is about to come out, so maybe it is time for a Cyberpunk DLC announcement to tie in with the anime coming up. So that would be exciting. And then does Electronic Arts even announce an event? Were they supposed to have an event in July? I thought they were.
I don't. Not that I can recall. Like I said earlier, though, I have a pretty big black spot with EA. Just saying that. But
anyways, it would be nice to see.
I don't see anything though.
It would be nice to see Dragon Age Dreadwolf outside of a developer diary, which is the only way we've seen that game from BioWare over the last few years has been like, oh, don't worry, it's returned to classic BioWare. We're making it. Here's some animation and some character art.
It's the worst marketing. It's the worst.
And here's the title. We'll just give you the title on a random day that it's Dragon Age Dreadwolf. So
who does that get excited? Is there a single person out there that was looking forward to Dragon Age, and then they see a developer diary and they just looks so good? Just don't say anything. Just fuck off until you're ready, man. Jesus.
Yeah. We know BioWare still exists, so
barely.
Definitely not the same staff.
No.
But just let's see what the game's about. Let's see what it looks like in the current gen engine. Now's the time, I think, to show it off, especially if Electronic Arts is just not going to show it, not have their own showcase here within the next few weeks. So
yeah, because I'm trying to think of even what they would have to show, and it's I feel like their biggest game coming out that people know about is probably the next Star Wars Jedi Survivor game, but that would be at a different conference, Disney conference. That, again, sorry to keep spoiling future things in the show, but so I think that would be more likely to be there. And so what do you show? You got the BioWare games, Mass Effect, God knows when that's going to be a thing. So you don't have anything to show there. And you're not going to have a showcase just to show off sports games. So I don't think they would.
I just think maybe this is the perfect time is we don't got anything else to show this year, but, and let's get people excited about Dragon Age, which at one time was a very important franchise, and I know BioWare has to prove themselves after Mass Effect Andromeda and then Anthem, so it would be nice to see. I would not be opposed to seeing a gameplay or story trailer for what that game is going to look like going forward. That would excite me.
I think BioWare has the biggest hill to climb to regain their fans' trust more than any other company, including CD Projekt Red or anything like that. So, I've never been. There's not a BioWare game that I hold near and dear, but I still am rooting for them because I know just how important their games were to people at any given point in their lives. So, hoping they come back. We'll see.
Yeah. So, and I'm just want to be excited for this. Well. It feels like we very rarely get events, but as we're going to talk about, for some reason right now,
good events.
Good events. And Keeley is teasing this to be 2 hours long, and as he's teased a bunch of games, but there's still a lot of room for a lot of games. And again, it only takes one good announcement can make make or break a press conference. So. I don't think his show. Was it Gamescom last year that was Elden Ring? I believe it was, because Summer Game Fest, the kickoff was not a thing last year. So you end your press conference on Elden Ring, which was a great moment because Keeley knew he had everybody. He's like, I know I got you guys. This is what you wanted. This is what you've been begging for. I love, you could see it in his face. It's like a good hand in poker. It's like, I got you. That Elden Ring trailer was awesome last year. That even if I wasn't into Elden Ring, I was like, wow, that's how you end a show. So Keeley knows. Yeah. Keeley knows.
Let's hope that's the case again, because he did the same type of marketing hype for Summer Games Fest, and and then with The Last of Us getting leaked, and what was his biggest announcement that entire thing? It couldn't have been anything more than a B tier level thing. So I'm hoping that he has something of that Elden Ring quality. I mean, it's possible. There's a world where he shows up with the Breath of the Wild 2 trailer and that lights the world on fire. That is a possibility. It's just, it's good to temper expectations, and my expectations have never been lower, I guess. It's not in a horrible way. It's just after a couple press conferences in a row of lackluster announcements, there's no point.
I don't want to see you rolling your eyes the whole time.
Yeah, John. Okay. Who's this even for? Who's gonna play this game?
Yeah, John is the half empty person, so I'm the optimistic one, and I'm like, oh, it's not for me, but someone might be excited. John's just like, get it off the screen. I don't want to see it. So
I am proudly pessimistic. All right, I'm a proud pessimist.
All right. Well, again, this next podcast will probably be all about this, so we'll have a lot to talk about. Hopefully. I'm really hoping. But let's move on. John, do you want to talk about another showcase?
Yeah, so in the showcase theme of today's episode, on August 12th, we had the THQ Nordic Showcase. And they showed some games, I guess you could say, but... so I want to just go through. I'm going to read off some of the games. Nick, I want you to tell me, A, if any of these stand out to you, and B... And not to, consistently go into review scores and things. It's not the end-all be-all if a game is good, but I want you to tell me, Nick, if you think any of these games are going to review better than an 80, okay? That's kind of my personal benchmark for if a game is okay, I gotta check this out. So, we had AEW Fight Forever, which is a new wrestling game. We had Alone in the Dark, which is a remake of what many consider the very first survival horror game, Alone in the Dark. We have the remake for Destroy All Humans 2, a remake for Gothic, Jagged Alliance 3, Knights of Honor 2, Outcast 2, Space for Sale, SpongeBob SquarePants and the Cosmic Shake, Stuntfest World Tour, Tempest Rising, The Valiant, Way of the Hunter, and Recreation. Any of that stand out to you, Nick?
Before you even read this list off, I would have said no, John.
Yes. Yes, and that's kind of what I want to talk about. So, I think it's great that companies are trying to take things into their own hands more and to get their brands out there and promote their brands. But I think there is a genuine concern for the amount of showcases that we are getting now, the level of quality of the showcases we're getting now, and just the way that these are presented to us. You know, back in like 2012, 2013, you know, the good old days, right, with E3 and these, you know, PSX, it seemed like when you had a showcase, it meant something, right? It warranted your attention. It caused you to want to tune in because you were going to see something that was worth your time and worth your attention. And I'm sorry, THQ Nordic, you know, I'm sure you have great people that work for your company who are pouring all of their creative energy into these titles to make the best game they can for their fans. And I'm sure there are some people out there that are fans of the Jagged Alliance series, although I had never heard of it. But it's almost disrespectful to the people in the video games industry, to the fandom who eat up these products so much. You know, we love playing video games. And to kind of get through one of these and just be like, well, maybe I'll check out one of these or whatever the case. And again, I know you want to show off your products, but it's just it's getting a little tiresome. You know, it's beating me down. It's causing me to look at other notable showcase and just, you know, and not get excited about them. You know, Nick and I actually had a conversation a little bit ago where we were kind of talking about Gamescom in preparation of this podcast, and my level of excitement after our conversation was noticeably less than it was beforehand because, you know, we've come to expect, like I said earlier, filler and just these things that just kind of pad the way so that maybe we can get to that one announcement that, you know, makes the price of entry worthwhile. You know, Summer Games Fest being The Last of Us Part 1. You know, and I just really miss the times where an announcement would happen for a showcase and we go, oh my God, I can't wait, dude. What are they going to show? You know, and we might have one of those coming up soon, but it's getting a little tiresome. You know, and I just kind of want to know, Nick, do you feel the same way, or is that just me being in my general pessimistic nature?
Yeah, I'm with you. I know, like, since we've known each other, we have been placing bets on these press conferences, like what we want to see there. And, you know, we kind of just say we're going to buy the other person a pizza or a pop if someone gets more predictions. Our predictions have been so positive that they never come anywhere close. And COVID has had a big part of that. COVID has just destroyed game development and continues to. So these press conferences just have not had the same level of announcements and excitement. And then when you say like Sony doesn't show up at all at E3, it just seems like, it's been less and less. And everyone's trying to chase the Nintendo Directs. Like this showcase seemed like a Nintendo Direct. It was just like, you know, if we just put a trailer out for, you know, the Gothic remake, maybe, you know, 5,000 people click on it if that franchise is for them. But if we package it into this, you know, giant showcase that people are just going to be like, oh, I wonder what they're going to show, they probably get, you know, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times the amount of views because it's part of this whole thing. And even a lot of people are probably skipping through a lot of it. A lot of people like you and myself watched this whole thing and we were just like, oh, okay. So, part of it is our projection on things and how the industry has kind of changed. But at the same time, they've been pretty bad.
And that's like where sometimes I just need to check myself. I'm like, okay, like, you know, and especially when you and I watch things together, because I will go, what is this? And then you're like, John, calm down. I'm like, no, this is ridiculous. Like, why am I watching this right now? And, you know, different strokes for different folks. There's probably some guy who's watching this goes, oh my God, can you believe this? This is great. But I don't know, man. It's just I pray for a Sony conference. I pray for, you know, a full-fledged Nintendo Direct because especially without those two, right? Microsoft shows up to these things every once in a while. They're a little more laissez-faire when it comes to showing their products. But when you get Sony saying we're not going to be there, and when you get Nintendo being the way that Nintendo is, where they're going to save a lot of their stuff for their Directs, it sucks so much out of it. And I just kind of hope we get a little bit of a reversal, because this level of press conferences really came about again with COVID. Once E3 started to die and COVID became a thing and everybody's remote, it almost was a necessity for a lot of these teams and a lot of these companies. They can't get together with other people. They can't rent out large auditoriums to show things, so they have to just put on this little, Nintendo Direct style video and just get their stuff out there. I get it. But I just kind of hope that we revert back to some of the times where, when there's a thing, there's a reason to tune in for it. And I just got one last thing to say. We need to stop with these announcers style formats or whatever. It's so cringy listening to this corporate PR obvious script with these bubbly personalities and like they're doing the best they can, man. It's not a fault of their own, but my God, the amount of times that I just have a big old fat sigh because they said something just very, very cringy. It's got to go away with that. I don't know what the solution is, but I'd rather take a disembodied voice, man. Ugh.
Yeah, I hear you. It comes off disingenuous and forced.
It's the worst. Yes.
They should really just have developers up there. I forget what the female developer that everyone got attached to. She was promoting some game at the Game Awards, I think. I can't remember.
Was it the Japanese girl?
Yes.
Yeah, she was with Ghostwire Tokyo.
Correct. There you go.
She was with Tango, yeah.
Yep. Everyone loved her because she, again, as opposite of these people who were just like, oh, that game looks cool, and some pun-worthy line about the game.
I can't wait to sink my sword into their breastplate. It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
No, you're not. You don't even know what a video game is.
Yeah. But that comes off much more genuine and real. So, these publishers should really work on getting the developers of the game that are genuinely excited about their game, whatever it may be, on the stage, and just have that genuine energy on the stage as they talk about their game and the project they're excited to be working on, as opposed to, I'm assuming these people are either community managers for the publisher or a developer who, as you had mentioned, their scripts are just feel forced and they're definitely, pre-written. There's nothing real about them, so...
Or some C-list celebrity that they think the kids will enjoy, but I digress.
Before we move off, have you played any of these games? It was so heavy on remakes or sequels. Does any of these, do you have, we kind of joked about how these fake people, these kind of kept promoting Outcast, like it was this big franchise, and we looked at each other like, I've never heard of this before. And again, it's not a very big franchise at all. It reviewed, it reviewed well, but did not sell well. So,
that one was funny because they're like, the game that set the world on fire, and it's just like, what is this? And then we see the trailer, I'm like, okay, maybe this is it. And then like Outcast 2, and then I think, didn't you look up the sales of the first one and it sold like 50,000 copies in like a year or something like that.
I mean, this was back in the day, so late 1990s. So game sales were a bit different back then. But it was not good. I think it was like 400,000 after a couple of years, which is nothing.
It just speaks to the disingenuity of it all. But no, I played Alone in the Dark on PC, the 1992 or 3 version of it when I was, I don't know, 7 or 8. So like obviously having no idea how games even work. I do remember being very, very confused as to what I needed to do next. So I played that, but you might as well say I didn't play it because this is a PS5 game. The gap is ridiculous.
Right.
And I mean, I played that SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom. I think that it came free to PlayStation Plus like a couple months ago. It's a very PS2 style character platformer, and this looked, honestly, I was kind of shocked how the same this looked. It didn't seem like they moved along with any modern gameplay mechanics or anything at all. It just kind of seemed more of the same thing. So. Yeah, man, I haven't played anything more than just those two, and like you said, I've never heard of Jagged Alliance, I've never heard of Knights of Honor, I've never heard of Outcast, and then it seemed like half of their games were medieval RTS strategy games, so not a lot for me there, but Hopefully somebody walked away from that showcase going, fuck yeah, whatever, Jagged Alliance 3, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have no attachment to anything they showed, so even the nostalgia of, a remake of this, it's like I didn't even play it the first time, so just
Move along.
Yeah. But again, these press conferences can be better, even if they, unfortunately don't have a strong lineup like THQ does. The overall press conference could have been a lot better. So,
for sure.
All right. So moving on, every year Disney holds this kind of event called D23. It's kind of a fan event. They definitely use it to promote Disney things. Like Disney Plus and the shows that come on there, all the MCU and Star Wars stuff. This is the first year that they're going to have a specific section dedicated to video games. So they were calling it the Disney and Marvel Game Showcase. It will be September 9th. It will be hosted by Kinda Funny's Blessing Adeoye Jr., who me and John are not great fans of. I don't want to start any kind of podcast war, but we would
lose that so
bad. Maybe it'd draw attention to our podcast if we did.
Yes. But there's no such thing as bad press, right?
Yeah. Blessing could prove us wrong too. Maybe he's good at hosting an event. I've never, seen him host one before.
Sure.
So, but the event itself is kind of exciting because obviously Disney's, between Star Wars, Marvel, 20th Century Fox, they own a lot of very important franchises. So this one I'm going to break up into 3 sections. I'm going to bring up what they showed between the press release and the trailer. Then we're going to talk about the games that are in the ether from them that they might talk about. And then we can kind of, again, predict what we want to see. So between the trailer and the press conference, the press release, they have confirmed that Avatar Frontiers of Pandora will be there from Ubisoft. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, which released earlier this year. Marvel's Midnight Suns, which we talked about last week, that got delayed into fiscal 2022. Disney Dreamlight Valley, which is a free-to-play, like Harvest Moon, like simulator game. They teased an Aliens game, but I wasn't sure if it was Fireteam Elite from Cold Iron Studios, like DLC to that game, or the one that was recently announced, Aliens Dark Descent from Tindalos Interactive. I don't know which one it was. It could be either one. And then probably the big one is Amy Hennig, who has experience working for Naughty Dog on the Uncharted games. She has a Marvel game coming from the new studio, Skydance New Media. John, what do you think of at least what we know so far that they've teased is going to be there?
I think it's a good mixture of things. The crown jewel of that entire lineup, like you said, is the Amy Hennig thing. Going off of my previous opinions on press conferences, I don't really need to see things that I know of. Star Wars Lego Saga, I don't even know what that could be. I thought the whole thing about that game was to have every kind of moment from Star Wars in there. So not that I'm sure they can add extra scenes and whatnot, so there'll be some DLC. But, I want to see, Amy Hennig's game, man. Not only was she involved with the Uncharted series, she was the lead writer for that series, I do believe. So, she's got some very, very good writing chops. So if you can get her into the Star Wars universe to to develop a original, maybe more grounded, smaller, intimate Star Wars story, I think that could be very, very, very cool.
It is a Marvel game.
It's Marvel. Okay, well, same thing applies. Honestly, in this day and age, for me, Star Wars and Marvel almost feel like the exact same thing. So, I know. If she can tell an intimate story, that's something that I would want to see more than just anything in the style of Marvel's Avengers or something like that. If it's more of a Guardians of the Galaxy single player narrative focused thing where you kind of grow attached to characters, then man. I'm at least open to the idea of it. They haven't obviously said what property within Marvel she's doing, right?
Not at all. There's speculation that it's Fantastic Four related, which would make sense with the movie a few years out. But no, it could. I mean, when you talk about Marvel, I know like we know about the the MCU and whatnot, but I mean, if you're creating a game in it, it can be anything. Like there's a lot of Marvel superheroes and villains that this could be about. So.
If I know anything about the media, though, they're gonna have it's gonna be based on something that's happening somewhere else in media. It's not gonna be, it probably won't be Iron Man, right? Because Iron Man's Iron Heart's coming, but that's its own separate thing. So yeah, I would bet it's gonna be something that has had a Marvel movie release or a TV show release within the last 2 years, would be my guess, or in the upcoming 2 years.
Yeah. I'm with you on that, but that is exciting. As you said, new games, are just I can't wait. Just even it probably won't be much. We're probably going to even maybe get a CG trailer with what the title is, but even knowing what it is is exciting and gives us room to speculate.
Does Skydance, like, are they a game developer, or is it more? It's more of a media company, isn't it? Like, I'm just trying to get a feel for what style game we think this would be. If it's going to be more action based or like narrative focused.
I think this is a new studio, so I don't think anything. I should probably know more about this studio, but no, I don't know. Skydance. I mean, Skydance Media is a thing, and they just did. It looks like they do a lot of movies, but they do all of like the Tom Cruise movies. So they just did Top Gun Maverick. So, I mean, at the very, very least, they'll have some money behind their project, assuming. Yeah, and they own Uncharted. Or no, they don't own Uncharted. It says Uncharted is one of their brands. I don't know what that means, seeing that's obviously owned by Sony. So I don't know. But I think it's the same thing. Yeah, it is. So, but this is just a new division within them. So
okay.
So this is they kind of announced this earlier in July. That they announced that, hey, we're doing a Marvel game, and they say they're doing a Star Wars game. So.
They did The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, that VR game.
Oh, okay. So,
all right. They're not afraid of action, I guess. That's good.
Yeah, so what this game will be and what it will look like is probably up in the air. It could be a more narrative game or more action game. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. Is there anything else from like that list that you got your eye on besides the Amy Hennig thing? I know this is more in your wheelhouse than mine, but still I'm curious what they're going to bring.
Not with what they've shown so far. The closest next one will be Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, because we haven't seen what that game actually is. But considering it's a first-person game from Ubisoft, it's Far Cry on Pandora.
Yeah, that's a pretty safe bet. Yeah.
So that is probably what that is. But no, nothing else really. That's really pretty much the big announcement. And then
they got to bring Star Wars Survivor, don't they? They got to have Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor there, don't they?
Yeah. I was going to get into that. Is what properties they have out in the ether. So in the ether, they have 2 mobile games, Star Wars Hunters and Marvel Snap, that are both not out. And then as far as console games, they have from Insomniac, Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine, which we've talked about in this show. They have the Indiana Jones game from Machine Games, which is Bethesda and Xbox. And then also EA has Jedi Survivor out there. Is there any chance any of these games show up, John?
I think so. I think we'll see Survivor there. I mean, they've said that's early 2023 release date.
Yep.
So I bet we'll see a little bit here and at the VGAs. I believe Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was first revealed at the VGAs. It was that really weird sitting down interview. I don't know if you remember that, where they literally just went to a guy sitting in the audience. They're like, you're making a game, right? Yeah, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And like, it was just, okay, I guess that's a thing. So, there's some history there with the Keighley events. So yeah, I think we'll see that at the very least.
Yeah. Any chance of Spider-Man 2?
No.
That's probably next year. Well, we know it's next year. They've said as much.
No,
I
think No, I think unless if Disney is just like throwing a big old bag of cash at Sony, Sony's going to want to keep all of that for their showcases. I think, especially with the release of Spider-Man on PC recently, that's probably their biggest franchise, man. That's probably their biggest system seller, their biggest, their most notable IP. So I think they would want that to be tied to the Sony brand as much as humanly possible. So I would not expect to see that there. No, probably. Yeah.
Well, teasing our next topic is, I think it depends on whether or not Sony has an event.
For sure.
If Sony does, then no. If Sony doesn't, then yeah, I would think they would at least have something here at this event for that game.
Yeah, 100%.
But everything else, probably not. Those other games are probably very far out because they were just recently just announced at all with very little to show other than CG trailers or just, I believe Indiana Jones was just a blog post. I don't even think we've had an actual trailer.
Well, it had that weird, like, it kind of panned across a desk and you saw like a journal and a whip and a hat. It was like one of those. It was like a CG trailer, but there was like nothing even besides a desk and items. So
see, I keep thinking of the Contraband trailer, which was also just that. So it had a similar trailer. That's probably why it slipped out of my mind.
Good old Microsoft. Tons in development. Don't know much about any of it.
Yep. And then as far as what we want to see, I know there's not very much out there. There's that rumored Black Panther game, that has kind of, I haven't really looked into it, but it was on the PS5 subreddit about a Black Panther game coming. Who knows if we're getting any kind of sequels to, or Avengers is out there too. I can't forget about Avengers.
How could we?
Just recently played Avengers, and they did have more characters in mind. So and they just had a character release. So I imagine that they're ready to announce She-Hulk, which was leaked by somebody accidentally. And with the Marvel show coming out today, while we're recording, that I would imagine that the next character announcement is probably there for Marvel Avengers. But
it's just, at what point do you pull the plug? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't have access to the data if people are playing it, but the Twitch numbers are abysmal.
Yeah, I remember before even like the Spider-Man DLC came out, or the Black Panther DLC for Avengers. Like, I think there was a week that there was like 70 people watching it at any given time, and I just can't believe. Like, that's bad, man. That's like, there's like 85,000 watching Cult of the Lamb. So, like, against arguably the most notable IP in the world. So it's just interesting.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It just came to PlayStation Plus extra tiers, so maybe there is going to be a little bump in, people playing the game. So maybe more people are getting interested in it. But I say it's a pretty safe bet that they're also there teasing what's coming next. But other than that, I don't know. Sky's the limit when you have as many IPs as Disney does.
For sure, and we don't really know what level of conference this is going to be, right? We have the THQ level conferences, or we have Sony Showcase level conferences, and being that this is the first one, I don't know what to really expect. Nick, do you know, is this conference completely separate from their like show and movie announcements? Like, are they having a dedicated games thing, or is it going to be like all one conference that has like some game stuff in it, some TV show stuff, some movie stuff? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is an all weekend event, and it's going to have panels and whatnot, kind of like a BlizzCon. If you're familiar with that, it was kind of just a fan fest for Blizzard games that has panels, and it kind of opens with a big showcase. So this is kind of the opening salvo in a big showcase. So they're probably going to have show off all their games. Blessing's probably going to interview some developers. And then further in the weekend, they'll probably have panels that people attending this event live can go to, or people who pay to see the panels, streamed, can watch. But this will probably be like probably in the same vein as as the showcases we've seen, where it's going to be very cringeworthy. Blessing is going to say a lot of cringy things, and we're going to just be like, Shut up. It could be exciting. Again, the theme here. It only takes one. If Amy Hennig's Marvel game looks really cool, then, you know.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking, Nick, about the title of this episode? You think what I'm thinking? It only takes one.
So.
All right.
Well, let's move on. I'm excited about this one. Speculation.
Yes. Will PlayStation have a showcase? So, as we've kind of been alluding to this entire show, we want that big banger of a showcase to just come and knock us off our feet, and PlayStation has a pretty good history of doing just that. So, on September 16th, 2020, we got our first PlayStation showcase that started to highlight the PS5 games, right? That's where we first saw Ratchet & Clank, Demon's Souls, Miles Morales, a lot of amazing things, right? Got us super excited for the console. Fast forward about a year after that, on September 9th, 2021, we got another PlayStation showcase, which that was where we saw Spider-Man 2, Wolverine. In fact, I actually have a list of the games. That's where we saw KOTOR for the first time. Don't know obviously what's up with that game now, but the level of announcements we're seeing. Saw Forspoken get blown up, Guardians of the Galaxy, Ghostwire Tokyo, Deathloop for the 400th time, Gran Turismo 7, and God of War Ragnarok. Right? These are the games, Nick, that I kind of unfortunately expect to see at a showcase, right? I might be a little biased. I will admit that. But I don't think anybody will admit that the level of quality of those games, warrant the type of receptions of like, this is worth my time to watch this showcase. So, yeah, I just, shoot to me straight, Nick. Is PlayStation going to have a showcase next month?
I really want them to, John. I really do. And now that you've mentioned that, I totally forgot that 2020 was the same, like around the same timetable. Yes, yeah. I think they have too many things in the oven right now, and they're cooked. They're ready to go. It's ready to show it to us. We got VR2, like that's just been sitting there. We haven't had a big blowout of that. Earlier this year, we got rumors from Jeff Grubb and Greg Miller that Sony was buying Square Enix. Like that is sitting there out there, and we just don't know. And and with Square Enix selling off its Eidos assets, everything seems to line up that this is going to be an announcement. And then on top of that, we have the big 2023 lineup. Like what is coming out? Like we know Spider-Man 2, Final Fantasy 16, Forspoken. But other than that, like, we need to know what's happening next year. What games are we going to get excited for? And then we have a bunch of teams sitting on unannounced games. It's been a year or more since their last game. Team Asobi, Sucker Punch, Bend, Haven, Housemarque, Bluepoint. What are you guys doing? I want to know. So, John, this show needs to will it into existence, like all the other things we brought, whatever, that's fine. But look, come on, Sony, announce an event. It's time. It's time to really blow the lid off and make me and John happy. Give us the event we've been craving all year long, so yeah. I'm ready. Yeah, I hope so.
I'm right there with you. In fact, for almost the exact same reasons. When I was putting this together and kind of prepping for this topic, I was probably leaning more in the not going to happen camp. And when I saw the fact that they had a showcase 2 years ago, also in September, it's almost like they're making this little cadence for themselves. So with, like you said, with the amount of games teased or that we don't know about, the amount of developers that were unsure of what they're working on, it only makes sense. And I actually did find a poll on Push Square. Will Sony have a PlayStation showcase next month? And 19% said yes, most definitely. 30% said yeah, probably. 24% said possibly. 21% said probably not, and 6% said definitely not. So it seems like people are kind of leaning on the more likely to have one than not. But I'm sure that's a lot of people just hoping and praying, much like us, that we're trying to will it into existence. So it's definitely being thought about and talked about. So hopefully Sony's got something ready to go. But I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, Nick. The big thing for me is this VR2 thing. And this was rumored to be out early next year, even like some people were speculating later this year. So unless if that is wildly off and this thing is more in like the late next year, we have to have that big info dump, which it would also be real weird if it was, because they had that blog post a couple months ago detailing the system, showing it off, showing, kind of having a minor announcement of this Horizon game that's coming to it. So it seems like they're ready to blow this open. And you couple that with the fact that, again, Spider-Man 2023, Wolverine is probably 2025. Maybe 2026. That's the only first-party games that we know about, and they have the ability to buy that third-party exclusivity, like you mentioned with Final Fantasy 16. That is something that they've been doing more and more and more. But we need to know what these first-party teams are doing, and Sony doesn't like to show up to these smaller showcases. They're not going to be at a THQ Nordic. They're probably not going to drop even something like Gamescom, a new announcement for their teams, something that their teams are working on. So, in my opinion, they have one of two things they can do. They can do a large showcase and blow it all out, which I think would be the wise thing to do, or they do a bunch of small state of plays, but that would not really be in tradition with how they like to do things. Those are typically more to deep dive into something we know about, not to announce something we don't. So, time's ticking, the clock's running out. We need to see this stuff sooner than later. So if we don't see it next month, I don't think we'd see something until early next year. We'll get probably a state of play for God of War Ragnarok, but that would be kind of crazy to me. So. I'm with you, man. We'll put that little voodoo magic into the air and hope we get lucky. But we will keep our nose to the ground. And the moment we hear about a showcase, we will let you guys know.
Yeah, and I remember it was like a really quick turnaround. It was like announcement that they were having a show. It was like right at the end of August, and then boom, it was like it's coming like within next week, or I think like 10 days. Like it was like. I remember, speaking of blessing from PS I Love You, I remember them saying that they didn't think Sony was going to have a show because the year was the month's over. Like once you get into September, it's usually you don't have an event. And I remember them saying that, and within 2 days later, Sony's like, "Yep, we're having an event in September." So expect the turnaround for this really quick. Like it's announcement and there'll be a show.
That is how they've been communicating, not even recently, but the past couple of years. It seems like for everything. I remember before the PS5 even came out, and we're like, when is the date? When is this coming? When is it coming? And I think it took until June, July of that year to even get anything on the console, or even how much does this thing cost? So we live in an age where from announcement to whatever the thing is, it's a much shorter period of time, which I'm fine with. It allows people to not go crazy with speculation and get too chomping at the bit about things. But yeah, I'm hoping we see that in the next week or so, that announcement for a September. Glorious day in September where we can finally get some new things to talk about and new games to look forward to.
Yeah, it should be incredible. Like as we said, every one of these things has been that press conference we've been just wanting so badly. So if Sony does, we know it's going to be big. We'd even mentioned The Last of Us multiplayer, which they said is going to be next year at the summer kickoff event. So it'll be exciting. We'll talk about it a lot on this show when that announcement happens, and certainly afterwards. I think we're going to ditch the whole format at that point and just have a long form conversation about every announcement, because I'm sure that's just how many there will be there. We'll have a lot more than just 6 things to talk about. So.
And games actually worth talking about, as opposed to hold on, let me look up Jagged Alliance 3. All right,
throwing shade.
Something worth it. Yep. Sorry, whoever developed you. I'm sure it's a lovely game.
All right, so moving on, we're going to move on to a funner topic about not just events, but on this show we talk about platinum trophies a lot. It's kind of been a ongoing theme as we've done this show. So I just wanted to take some time to talk about the platinum trophies that we got. Between me and John, we have close to 60 platinum trophies. So what I'm going to do here is we're going to break it down to some subcategories and just learn about the platinum trophies we got, and finally name one that we do want. So starting things off, John, I want to ask you, what is the rarest platinum trophy that you have earned?
So, it's actually a trophy that's been brought up on this podcast recently, and one of my most recent platinums, actually. That is Descenders. And for those who don't know what this game is, it's I don't expect you to know what this game is. It's a downhill mountain biking game that my 5-year-old son absolutely fell in love with. One of his favorite YouTubers played it, and he just can't, to this day, he cannot get enough of this game. You know, I've platinumed it. I've spent hundreds and like, I'm not kidding, hundreds of hours playing this game with him, which, you know, for all of you out there, you know, judging me as a parent, hold your judgment, please. He's still a very nice, well-rounded boy. But, you know, this game, according to PSN Profiles, which is an opt-in website, so the only people who, you know, are going to reflect this data are people who opted in anyway. It shows 1.49% of people have gotten that trophy. And, you know, I earned that motherfucker, man. Like that game is just, it's physics based, you know, so it's meant to be hard. It's meant to be kind of glitchy, buggy. It's unfair at times. You know, there's some times where I have to get a specific trophy where you go through this run, and at the end of the run, you have to jump through a flaming hoop, right? And so obviously you have to have a ramp to get you up to the flaming hoop. I would say 1 out of every 5 times you play this game, that ramp is not tall enough to get there. You just literally cannot jump up to the hoop, so you just have to restart your run. So it's like bullshit like that, you know, really tests your patience. But as any parent out there will know, the things we do for our children knows no bounds. And so yeah, I got that bastard, and I don't have to ever play that game again.
So can you guess what the official percentage is in the PlayStation trophy list? Like on Sony's system.
0.1.
Yes.
Yep.
I've never seen a percentage that low.
Yep. I did it, dude. I did it. So anytime you want to come at me about My Name is Mayo, at least I got that one.
That's true. That's insane. But I think, as you mentioned, the trophies were broken for a while, so maybe there's a lot of people that just gave up on it, but that is impressive.
That's a good thing to bring up, yeah. So up until about a month ago, I told my son, I looked him in the eyes, like, Dad, let's do this. I'm like, Levi, we can't, my friend. What do you mean? It's bugged. I don't know what to do. Like, there's nothing I can do short of emailing to developers. And lucky for us, yeah, just random got that, you know, little notification on my PlayStation that said update for Descenders, and I didn't know what it was going to fix or what it would do. But once that that update got installed, I think I popped 12 trophies and just needed 3 more. So I was like, all right, that's the sign, we're going to do it. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy certain aspects of that game. It is kind of fun sometimes, but I never want to touch it again. Never want to touch it again.
Understandable. Yeah. All right.
What about you, Nick?
So, do you want to take a guess what my rarest platinum might be?
It's going to be Returnal or Guardians, maybe.
Nope, neither of those.
No? Okay.
It is Cyberpunk 2077 at a
good one.
1.1%. And I think that has a lot to do with just the popularity of that game, the hype going into it, and then everyone playing a gigantically broken game and then quitting it. So yeah, it's probably got more people playing it than anything, but not a lot of people finishing it or seeing it through. So, you know, you probably got, like, you know, 20 million people on PlayStation that have played it, but, you know, I bet the percentage of people who even completed it is really low. So not shocking to me that, you know, when I grinded out this platinum, because I love the game so much, that not a lot of people did the same. So, yep, 1.1%, not shocking.
Nice. So I'm 11 times better than you.
Okay. Good. Sure. All right. So moving on, John, what is your favorite platinum that you have earned?
Sure. So I first want to just give an honorable mention to Beat Saber. I love rhythm-based games, and this game just, you know, when I first started playing it, it felt perfect. I couldn't put it down. You know, and it's a pretty intensive, physically demanding game. So, you know, I just wanted to throw that out there because that game is super fun, pretty fun platinum list too. You have to, like, actually perfect 15 different songs on the playlist, which isn't easy to do. But my number one platinum, you actually guessed it, Nick, you bastard, is Hades. This game, you know, Nick and I have talked a couple times about doing a topic of perfect video games. To me, this game is perfection from top to bottom, including its trophy list. You know, when I think about everything this game does, its art style, its storytelling, its gameplay, its soundtrack, it's even to the fucking platinum trophy, man. It does everything so well. And this was just one of those trophies that was a really, really fun mix of doable tasks, a little bit of difficult tasks, you know, grinding out some things, collecting some things. But what was really cool about this trophy is it forced me to see everything that the game had to offer. It's mind-boggling when you play this game how, you know, anybody who has played it, you know, you beat Hades the first time and that's not the end of the game. And there's lots of different dialogue, you know, you'll miss, or these little funny like death sequences that you'll get when you get killed by, I guess, the land of the living, for lack of a better word. You know, and just forced you to really see everything that the love and care that the developers put into the game. And I had a great time doing it, and it's also kind of rare. You know, it's not an easy one. It's time consuming, but it's one that I never questioned going to get, you know, because I knew before even playing the game on PlayStation that I was going to love it because I played Hades on Switch. So I knew what I was in for, and I wish I could almost erase that platinum from my database and just go get it again. It was so much fun. You know, so I highly... No, dude, that game it's perfection, and it makes me almost sad because I have a thing in me that when I get a platinum for a game, it's hard to pick it back up. But I get kind of sad when I see it because I'm like, oh, I would love to play you again, but I have better things to do. Sure. So yeah, gotta be Hades, man.
Yeah,
Game's awesome.
that is a really good one. I thought that would be close for your rarest platinum, but it's at 6.7, so quite a few people have, not a lot, but you know, a higher percentage than normal have done that.
I think it's just a testament to how good that game is. When if that game gets its hooks in you want to see everything it has to offer. So, yeah.
And in a similar vein, my favorite platinum is also a roguelike, and that is Returnal. The percentage on this one is 2.2% of people get it, so it is pretty low. Just not Cyberpunk low or Descenders apparently, which is probably the lowest platinum percentage ever. But again, it speaks to just like I didn't play roguelikes before Returnal, and Housemarque did such a great job making a really, really good feeling and good playing game, similar to, you know, other games we talked about like Rocket League and stuff. Like, you know, I don't blame the game for any mistakes I made. This game was just so perfect that I made the mistake. There's no way. The controls are too tight, you know. So, and I don't know what drove me to get the Returnal Platinum, because it requires a lot of luck. A lot of collectibles are just inaccessible because they just don't show up in your run. So I don't know. Something came over me and it probably hit at the right time. There was not much else coming on, so I just kept doing runs and runs until I was able to collect all the collectibles, and boom, got the platinum.
Well, it was also, I think it was one of the first big budget PS5 only like releases, right? Like it was March after the console came out.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think it was kind of like console is still really new and fresh. It did amazing things with the controller, you know, short of Astrobot. It's probably the best use of the DualSense controller that we've seen still to this day. And I mean, I think I can answer that question for you, Nick, on why you got it. It's just, it is so damn fun to play. It's, you know, it's shockingly, now more I think about it, it's basically a 3D version of Hades, where your character, like you said, character does everything they want. You have enemies coming at you all over the place. It's chaotic as hell. It's hectic as shit. Sometimes you can get runs that just break the game wide open, and you're destroying things with your Hollow Seeker and the serrated projectiles and the portal turret and all the craziness, and you know, you feel like a god. And yeah, it just feeds into the loop so nicely that when you die, you know, and also I think it helps the game load so damn fast, but when you die, you're just immediately ready to go again, and you're like, fuck, all right, and you can get through it. Yeah. It's one that I still think about to this day, of going back and getting the platinum, because the only thing I have to do is just get lucky. Like Nick said, there's some RNG elements of needing to get the right room, to get the room on your map to get the right thing. I just need to do that, but I think I'm going to, just because again, it's so fun to jump into and just do a run here or there.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum. And let's go to your least favorite platinum trophy you had. I know you have mentioned last week that you have My Name is Mayo.
No. Yes, I do. Of course I do. Twice, may I add.
Is that your least favorite?
It's my least favorite in terms of shame. It's my most shameful. I would definitely, it's my most shameful. It's my only one I've ever gotten just to I don't know, buy a platinum, I guess. But I would also argue that at the time I bought it, this was 6 years ago at this point, games like Zump Jump and Snow Journey and what's the other ones that are like the Giraffe G? Those games did not exist. This was kind of like the first one, so it was a little more tongue-in-cheek than it was just like shameless, but still shameful nonetheless. But I would, for an actual answer, I'm gonna have to go with Rayman Legends, which is one of my favorite games ever.
Interesting.
It's platform perfection. I really, really love that game, and I think getting a platinum is a testament to how much you like a game. You typically don't do that unless if you want to, but what this game caused me to have to do, I had to boot this game up, Nick, every day for 6 months, and the reason for that is there's an internal rating system in the game called your level of awesomeness, and so as you go through these levels, you're collecting, like every level has these 10 little hidden guys that you have to find, and you have to get a certain amount of like collectibles, right, to get like all the things that the level has to offer. If you go through the game and you get everything in every level, you reach the 10th level of awesomeness. But to get the trophy, you have to get to the 11th level of awesomeness. And the only way to do that after you have gotten everything in the levels is to do the daily challenge, which gives you 1 trophy per day. And it slowly, because this is an exponential leveling system as well. So like to get from 1 to 2 is nothing, but to get from 9 to 10 takes a long, long time. So obviously 10 to 11 is ridiculous. So I had to literally log in every single day for 6 months and do just the daily challenge, which it wasn't a lot. It was maybe a minute to 2 minutes to do in order to bump that level up. And I don't know why I did it to this day. I think it was, again, just because I liked the feeling of that game so much that these daily challenges were actually pretty fun. It was more like a race-based thing where you're competing against other people. So depending on the percentile of your run, the completion level of it, kind of allocated your rewards. And so that was a fun little system. But when you design a trophy list, you need to be able to recognize that is just bullshit. And there's certain things you don't do, and forcing the player to log in that many times to get a dumb little trophy, for me, I'm that dumb person, is just silliness. So I really hope they make a second game more than almost most things right now. But if they do, please do not have that type of trophy in it, because I'll fucking do it again, but I don't want to.
Yeah, that's interesting. You took it in a direction that I wasn't thinking.
Yeah.
like the tedium to get the platinum.
And it just wasn't fun, man.
Yeah, no, that sounds horrible. Like requiring you to log in every day is really bad. So yeah, that makes sense to me. On my end, I just went, a game that I platinum, and I'm just like, I did it. I played it, and the platinum was kind of easy, and that was Man Eater. This is a shark role-playing game that came to PlayStation Plus in January of 2021. So right after the PS5 was out, this was one of the first PS5 native games. And it's just dumb fun. You play as a shark, and you give various tasks to eat people. And every time you do, you get to a new area, unlock new upgrades and whatnot. It's all very simple. And it was just a slog, and I hate play, but the platinum was like, easy. So, once I was getting toward the end, I was like, I just might as well platinum this too. So, it's just
that game seemed very
fun.
Tedious.
Yeah.
It seemed very tedious.
Yeah, the game does not play very well. The camera's all over the place. It is the definition of a B tier game. And it could be fun for, an hour or two to play it. But yeah, I beat it, platinumed it. And yeah, not a fan of it. So
good enough.
And then moving on, what is a game that you wish you had the platinum for that you do not currently have, John?
So this game is one of my favorite games of all time. I've short of Rocket League, I have put more time into this game probably than anything else. And I've actively tried to get this damn platinum on this game, but I don't know if I'll ever do it, and that's The Binding of Isaac. This is a roguelike that came out back in, I want to say 2014 or 2015. It's a fantastic game, man. You know, it does this thing with its items where you go through a run and the items interact with various items in combinations in ways that you'd never expect, and it truly makes every single run unique. It truly makes you get excited when you get into a chest room to see what your item's going to be, and if you get that one thing, you know, you can just mow people down, and it's great. But the level to get the platinum in this game, I'll try and explain it as best I can, I guess. There's probably about 12 to 15 characters, and you go through dungeon to dungeon to dungeon, and right, you have to get past Mom first is like the first boss, and then once you beat Mom 10 times, then you unlock the heart, and then once you beat the heart 10 times, you unlock the next level down, the next level down, and the next level down. So you end up having to beat this game, I don't even know how many times, with each character on hard mode against every single boss. Sometimes there's a good run and a bad run, so you have to do one of each of those. Each of these characters plays a little differently, and it's not just, oh, he shoots faster or he hits harder. It's like, no, this guy completely changes the way you play, where you have a detached head, and your head is invincible, but your body will take damage, and so you have to completely rework the style that you like to play. And on top of all that, there's these weird challenges in the game too, where when the game was released, it was released just as The Binding of Isaac, and there was 20 challenges, and if you did all 20 challenges, you got the trophy. Well, then they came out with a DLC for the game called The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth, and that added 10 extra challenges, but it also kind of fucked trophy. Now you had to get all 30 of them, and then it did it again where now you have to get 40 of them, and so it's just kind of like almost pushing the goal further and further and further back, where I love this game so much, and it would be probably my proudest platinum if I got it, but like to dedicate myself to that game, I don't know if I could do it to that level. And you know, my brother-in-law, I showed him this game, and he would have gotten he plays on PC, so he doesn't care about achievements, but he would have the platinum 3 times in this game. He's gotten 1,000% 3 times on all the different saves. He loves it that much, and you know, he's tried to like show me tips on how to do it, but like you just have to play the game in such a specific way that it almost takes the fun away from me. So as much as I might want to get it, I don't think I ever will, and it breaks my cold, dead little heart.
Oh, poor John.
Yeah.
Poor John. Yeah, that's a bummer, and that's kind of the theme of this is like, yeah, sometimes it's just like you can't do it, you know.
Nope.
And same for me, you know, John, my PSN name is a nod to one of my favorite games of all time, and that is The Witcher 3. I really don't have to explain much. Our audience knows why this game is so good, but the platinum does require you to have to beat the game once and then beat the game again on the hardest difficulty, which you unlock when you beat it once. And I just don't have the stomach to play through, you know, a 50 to 70 hour RPG on the hardest difficulty, which requires you to do every side quest, everything in the game, just so you can meet the levels required to just beat the main story. So when you got that big mountain to climb, you know, maybe 20 years ago, my younger days, time was infinite, I would have gotten it. Yep. But you know, I don't have the patience or the time to do it. So you just gotta let it go.
Yeah, difficulty trophies can burn in hell, especially if they require second playthroughs. Absolutely, that's a cardinal sin when it comes to trophy building. I guess, I don't know, trophy list building.
Yeah,
don't do that.
Yeah. So sorry, Geralt. Maybe your next game, maybe the next Witcher game, I'll platinum. So
yeah.
All right. Here we go, John. Final topic. Let's put a pin in this. Close the book.
Yeah. So I'll make this quick, but first and foremost, I just want to offer a sincere apology to my friend Will. I tried to love this game. I tried to love Death Stranding, Nick, I don't know if it's the game for me. First I want to kind of talk about some of the things that I really liked about the game. So I've probably put about 10 to 15 hours into it, enough to get a good feel for, what the game entails and, how it plays and things like that. So, it's a very intriguing story. Kojima is a master. Some would say master, some would say clown when it comes to creating characters and world building. But I think he is at least good at creating intrigue. And I know so little about where this story's going that I want to know more. So I think I might end up watching like a YouTube playthrough of this game just to absorb the story. The story was very good so far. The world was gorgeous. I love the aesthetic of the world. It seemed, very kind of just, it looked like Iceland. I think that's kind of what they were going for, but dire, melancholic, just a cool setting, very empty and beautiful terrain. I'm a hiking nature guy, so obviously I like that. I thought the music was really well done. The very first time that you start descending down a mountain and that low roar song comes on, I thought it was genuinely a top tier video game moment. The music matched perfectly with the setting, with the vibe, what you were doing. That when I first heard that, I thought that this was I was gonna fall in love with this game. But then I started to play the game, and maybe I just don't get it. I don't know, but it's just not fun. A game doesn't have to be fun, but it needs to be entertaining. And the core gameplay loop of this game, where you are just, everybody knows what this game is, right? You're walking over terrain. The terrain's almost your enemy. You have to get from point A to point B, delivering packages while also kind of balancing yourself. While also being chased by these BTs. And if these BTs come in, contact with you, they're going to drag you down and just make everything more clumsy than it already is. And then you got to fight these mule guys who are chasing you around. And it creates such a unfun loop where I find myself rushing through the experience, where I'm like just trying to I'm making bad decisions where I'm like, I'll just try and fucking fall down this hill because I don't want to have to deal with going into my inventory, pulling out a rope, putting it into the ground, walking down. It's cool when you come across that stuff and you can you find it organically and somebody helps get you to where you need to go. But after doing 5, 6, 7 deliveries and just stumbling all over the place and never truly feeling like I'm in control of my character, almost like the complete opposite of what we said with Returnal and Hades, where everything you do is so tight, it feels amazing. This is just, you kind of constantly wobbly. It kind of almost feels like you're drunk all the time. and then when you have to you take that inherently difficult system on itself, and then you start adding in, like I said, the BTs, where I have to move even slower now, where I have to crouch, I have to cover my mouth, which starts to drain my stamina. If they touch me, it triggers this weird goopy event where I'm trying to jump away and get away, and I don't even feel like I'm able to fight. And then you start putting in things. Your shoes have fucking HP. I don't want to have to deal with that. I don't want to have to deal with I'm on this delivery, I'm trying to get to wherever, and oh god, my shoes are gonna fucking disintegrate. And it's that's just not I get it, man. I get it's immersive. It gets you invested in what you're doing, but it's just not entertaining. And that's the same kind of thing for when I first got the motorcycle. I was jazzed because oh cool, I can finally get from point A to point B. And then you start just running into every little fucking rock, and then your motorcycle's battery dies way quicker than I thought it was going to, so you have to make sure you have a PCC to build a battery or a generator to charge that up. And again, I really wanted to love it. And I like I said, I'm going to probably watch the YouTube story of this game. And I want to respect the wheel. I feel like we've done nothing but disrespect our wheel of destiny so far. But we need to Kojima, I guess, to just not be on the wheel because it's just going to automatically go there. But I'm glad the people who liked it like this game. I think I gotta imagine most people like it for the story, but it just was not for me. And and the last thing I want to say about this game, and I actually want to kind of get your opinion on this, Nick. Is it me, or is Kojima's UI and menus just the fucking worst? When I would go into the map and I would need to see what do I need to do. It was my character's little triangle hidden underneath a translucent header, which was hidden underneath this line that was crossing diagonally, crisscross sideways around this thing, where everything just looks like a jumbled mess. He's using all these terms and things that, like, I feel like were never communicated to the player. I actually took a screenshot. So, like, you get to a delivery terminal for the first time, and it's like, okay, I have this package I picked up in the world, and, like, if you're good enough to see, like, okay, if you look in the top right corner, it might say the location it needs to go. But again, to get your eyes to look at that spot is so difficult. And then you get to the terminal. It's like, do you want to make a delivery? Do you want to claim materials? Do you want to recycle? Do you want to entrust your cargo? Share a lot? It's like, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. You didn't tell me what I need to do. And maybe I wasn't just paying attention, but it just, everything seems intentionally obtuse because Kojima is an auteur and he needs to put his Kojima stink on it. And I use stink I know it sounds negative. I don't mean it negatively, but he's just such a personality and has a way about I feel like the way he does things that I wish sometimes he would just back off a little bit and make things a little more straightforward. Your stories don't need to be the most confusing, convoluted things ever. You don't need to have, these in-depth, crazy systems upon systems and explanation upon, like, just let me play the game. And I just never felt like I could play the game. And Will, I love you. I know Kojima's your boy. I've never really landed with him, I guess, but this might just be more proof that his style's not for me. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I wanted to love it, I wanted to. I just couldn't do it.
Wow, that was quite the eulogy. You had a lot to get off your chest there. I hope you're feeling better now.
Yeah, I feel like I'm putting the last, shovelfuls of dirt onto Norman Reedus' face, and just, he's staring up at me with his little BB, and he's just saying, "Why, John? Why?" But it just, I'm glad there's people out there that enjoy it. There's a famous podcast group that I listen to who ranked all the PS4 games from every PS4 game, and they put this fucking number 2. And and at that point I was like, well, obviously it's me. I respect these guys. These guys know games. Obviously it's me. And it wasn't. So I don't know, man.
Oh, John, it's not you. The game is very polarizing for a lot of people, including myself. I will admit that I'm a big Kojima fan. Metal Gear Solid was one of my favorite series of all time. But a lot of the points you made, and including the UI, I will never defend a Kojima UI. I think it is something you put up with because the game is so good. Metal Gear Solid 5 is amazing. It's fun. But I would say, like, a lot of the systems and subsystems in that game are something you tolerate because the rest of the game is so good. And the playground that it presents to you is so good. I agree with you on all that. And it's funny that we kind of got stuck at the same part, trying to get to Fort Knot City. We both were just like, I'm out because of the things that you mentioned. It's like you're basically a drunk man. And when you have invisible enemies on top of trying to balance all these packages, and when those invisible enemies attack you and your packages go everywhere, the BB is crying profusely, which is, naturally one of the most annoying sounds in the world. That's how we survived as a species, because we know when our babies are in trouble that we have to, help them. So that's why it's just evolutionarily, very irritating and grating to us. And when you're in these scenarios, it's just, you feel so helpless. It's the worst part of stealth games is when you get caught and you don't feel like you have the tools to get out. And the same thing with the BTs, when they catch you, and maybe, if we played the game more, that we would have more options. I know you get guns in this game. But as it stands right now, it is just, I kept reloading a checkpoint, going back to it, and just beating my head against the same wall. And I'm like, this is not fun. Like, I'm getting frustrated because my guy is so over encumbered, so tipsy topsy, that the second these BTs catch me, I might as well just reload my checkpoint because it's just, just between the BB and my packages going everywhere and just air. They're all damaged. And then the ground's coming up from underneath me and people are trying to grab me from the ground. I'm just like, this is aggravating. I don't want to do it. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
So, no, you are not alone. I am with you.
All right.
We are going to sunset this game for now. I hope the wheel does not have a comeuppance. For us, like the one for now on, it'll be the game that we least want to play. But as we said,
just need to be more selective with our wheel choices.
As we said with the wheel, it was not like, hey, we have to play these games to completion. It's just that we were going to try them and we were going to see if we liked them. But if we bounced off of them, we're not going to force ourselves. We don't have the time anymore to force ourselves to beat games. So nothing against Kojima, nothing against the people that found the fun in this game and enjoy it, because there are definitely lots of those people out there. But
my buddy, he's he almost had the platinum on PS4 and accidentally overwrote his save, I guess, because there was like a thing. Yeah, so but I think he said he's trying to get on PS5, man. So like he can't get enough of it.
And that is
more
not
power to him.
Call back to our earlier topic. That is not an easy platinum at all.
It's like 120 hours.
Yeah, the difficulty spike on that one is high for getting that platinum. So again, John, don't feel bad. I'm with you, but it'll be curious as to what his next projects are and how we feel. I'm interested to see, because a lot of his games have been very similar control-wise, UI-wise. That'll be interesting what Overdose, this rumored game that we talked about earlier, is, and any other projects. Because as you said, his games have a feeling, have a kind of stylistic approach to them that he puts on them. So I'll always be interested in what he's doing.
Right. I mean, he's arguably the most notable video game person in the world. I would argue, probably.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right.
He deserves it. He earned it, but there it is.
Yep. So maybe we'll see the game on Tuesday, tying it back to our Gamescom discussion. All right. So in that same light, John, what song are we going to be leaving everybody on?
So it's that highlight of my Death Stranding playthrough, "Don't Be So Serious" by Low Roar. They got some good tracks. So if you're into this song, I recommend checking out some other stuff by Low Roar. It's all that kind of similar feel stuff, and it's good.
Kojima has an ear for licensed music too. I believe he is a big music guy as well as a game designer. So he definitely has an ear for great tracks too in all of his games. So. All right, John. It's another episode in the books.
10 down.
Yep, 10 down. Here we go. The race to 100. Triple digits.
I think we'll get there in probably about 90 weeks. I'm just going to put that bet out there. Probably 90 weeks.
Hopefully next week after Gamescom, we'll have something that one thing that we can be really excited to talk about, because again, it only takes one. So hopefully we lead off the show next week with that one thing that was incredible. So come on, Jeff Keighley, don't let us down.
If not, buckle up and get ready for some salt.
Yeah, exactly. So we will be back next week talking all things Gamescom, all the announcements, all the stuff that was interesting at the show. So stay tuned for our expert opinion on all that. So that's it. Enjoy a great weekend. And we will see ya. Bye, guys.
Toodaloo.
Don't be so serious. 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 Don't be so serious.